So my name is Marcia Sloan-Ladd. I serve as Vice President for Advancement here, and we are delighted to see such a great and full crowd this morning to welcome Jerry Blevins, one of our hometown heroes, here to the stage today. Before we do that, there is some information I want to share with you regarding the next Fridays at Findlay, which is in just 2 weeks. We have Sue Young, who is a 2007 graduate of University of Findlay. She serves as the Animal Behavior and Enrichment Manager at the Tampa Park Zoo, Lowry Park Zoo. Sue has an amazing story. She used to train the dolphins at the Clearwater Aquarium, including winter. How many people, I'm curious, ever saw the Dolphin Tales movie? All right. And so she trained Winter with the false prosthesis for his flipper tail, and then went on to be the elephant trainer at the Tampa Zoo, and they've promoted her now to be over all the animal behavior for the zoo, and she will have a part, and the animals that she has been working with on a National Geographic special to run in January. So you'll want to come and hear Sue on December 6th. So there are registration forms on your table, or of course you can go online, but if you do want to register today, you may leave it at one of the 2 tables on your way out this morning. I also want to mention on your tables information about our annual Winter College. If you want to escape this type of weather that we're having this morning and head south, or if you know people who are in Florida this winter, we'd love to have them join us on February 12th. Trustee Don Manley and his wife Karen host us annually. They underwrite it at the Pelican Isle Yacht Club just north of Naples in Bonita Springs. So we sure hope we'll see you. It's about a 4-hour program. They provide lunch. It's absolutely wonderful. We take some of our outstanding faculty and alumni who are doing great research on a variety of topics. So we hope you'll join us for that. Then I'm curious, who knows what is so special about December 3rd? Yes, Dr. Fell. Giving Tuesday, of course. We have Thanksgiving next Thursday, Black Friday, then we have Small Business Saturday, and then Giving Tuesday on December 3rd. So get online, give.findlay.edu, and give to your favorite higher ed institution, the University of Findlay. So definitely you want to write that down. So at this time, I will introduce Tyler Archambault to give our blessing and to share a few reflections of his time at Findlay. Following Tyler, President Fell will come up and introduce our speaker today, and I know that you are really going to enjoy today's program. Tyler is a junior business major from Maumee, Ohio. He is a catcher for the Oilers baseball team, and he is the recipient of 3 scholarships here at University of Findlay. So thank you, Tyler.
Hello, good morning. Hope everyone's having a great breakfast so far. My name is Tyler Archambault. Just a quick bit about me. I am a junior here at the university. I'm originally from Maumee, Ohio, a very small town outside Toledo. I'm a proud member of the baseball team here at the university, coached by Coach Perrell and Coach Merriman. And I'm a business management and finance double major. First off, I would like to thank a few people who make my education here at the university possible. I would like to thank all the donors who are a large part in awarding me the different scholarships, allowing me to come here. I was awarded the Trustees Scholarship and also the Ohio Foundation of Independent Colleges Scholarship. I know that these generous gifts were made possible to me, and I'm very appreciative for receiving them. I'm very thankful for my time here at the University of Findlay. As a student athlete and just as a student, I've learned a lot about myself as an individual and as an athlete in my 2.5 years here so far. Well, the one major thing that I've learned about this in this school, in both athletics and in the classroom, is what it means to have a family outside of your actual family. Coming here, I gained a whole new set of brothers within the baseball team and a huge support group behind me with all of the professors and administration that are willing to help no matter what. I'm very grateful for the friendships and relationships that I've made here at Findlay, and I look forward to continuing my academic and athletic career here. Now, if you'd please bow your head and pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here today and giving us the opportunity to all come together and listen to this great speaker. Lord, we ask you to allow his words to sit with us and allow us to become better leaders in order to further your kingdom and perform your will. I would also like to thank you for all the gifts and blessings that you grant us with every day and for offering the greatest sacrifice, your own Son's life, in order to save us from sin. In your name we pray, amen.
Well, we have a treat for you this morning. We have a packed house, and it's a great day to talk about baseball. Thank you, baseball players, University of Findlay Oilers. We're very proud to see you this morning, and we appreciate how you represent your university. Tyler, thank you for your prayer. I want to echo Marcia's remarks about our gratitude to all of you for your support. And we really mean that. We tease you about Giving Tuesday. We tease you about helping you meet your philanthropic goals. But sincerely, we are grateful in this season of Thanksgiving. We wouldn't have a university without you and those of others throughout the country and the world who support us and fill the gap so that these students can have the experience they have here. And today, you're going to hear from a young man who I think exemplifies what we'd like to see in all of our students and our graduates. Jerry recently finished his 13th season in Major League Baseball, where he has pitched for the Oakland Athletics, the Washington Nationals, the New York Mets, and his current team, the Atlanta Braves. His love of baseball stems from an early age, watching the Oakland Athletics in the 1990 World Series. Some of you may not have been born yet, but the rest of us were watching too. He looked up to the other players like Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco, and Ken Griffey Jr. He is originally from Arcadia and currently resides here in Findlay with his wife and 2 children. We are very pleased to have Jerry's mother, Debbie, and his brother, Rob, here with us today as well. And after having breakfast with Jerry and Debbie, I understand why he's such a great man. So please welcome Jerry Blevins.
I'm going to start at the podium. It's so early. I didn't realize 7:30 when Jim asked me to do this. He didn't mention that it was this early. I'm sure that was an omission of honesty because we spoke this morning. He gets up really early and he's doing push-ups before he starts his day. I've never been a morning person. I'm sure my college coach and my professors could attest to that. So I'd say most of my productive hours end in PM. So this is a rare treat. But thank you, Dr. Fell, for the introduction. Thank you, Marcia, for allowing me to come speak. Thank you to First Federal Bank for sponsoring this. It's a real honor to get to speak in front of a group of people that are from my area. I get to speak fairly regularly around the country, but when it's people that you recognize, you see faces that mean something to you, it motivates you a little bit more. And seeing, the 25 baseball students, I remember being there not too long ago. So thanks for waking up early enough to be with me this morning. So I appreciate it. When Jim asked me to do this, I agreed. I wasn't sure what I wanted to speak about. There's a lot going on with baseball, and I just couldn't figure it out. And so I chose leadership for two reasons. The first one is baseball right now is a numbers game. I don't know how much or how closely you guys follow baseball, but a lot of front offices are filled with MIT grads, Ivy League schools, people that crunch numbers. Our sport has become like almost a math problem. It's become fantasy baseball. Not all bad and not all good. But the one thing that they haven't been able to quantify is leadership. So from a standpoint of being able to look at a person on a piece of paper and they know me and how I pitch. They know my release point, my spin rate on the baseball. I can look at, on a curveball, my ball is released at 6.2 feet off the ground, and then on my changeup, I drop it down a little bit. All these data points are plotted. And in today's society of data collection, baseball is a numbers person's dream. The sport's been around for 150 years. You've got box scores from games past. And so in today's society of, data collection, from everything from your travel app to targeted ads, everything's all about data, and baseball's at the forefront of that. But like I said, leadership, you can't put a number on it. They haven't been able to quantify and calculate what it means to be a leader. And in baseball, leadership and team chemistry is huge. We're around each other so much. If you think about, compared to other sports, we play 162 games in a 6-month season. We average 1 day off every 3 weeks, and over half of that time, that day off is a travel day where we're going across country, spending 5 hours on a plane and then going to a hotel together. So we're around each other a lot. And if you have one bad seed of team chemistry, that person tends to get on your nerves. That can add up over a 6-month period. And so team chemistry is something that they can't figure out how to calculate, but they understand its importance. Team chemistry doesn't always equate to victory. Did you guys watch the World Series this year? Yeah, pure entertainment. I'll tell you what, that 7-game series, one of my former teams, the Washington Nationals, pulled off an incredible run. They started out the year very badly. They're in our division. I play with the Atlanta Braves. We have a lot of good teams. They were picked to win our division. But we ended up winning it because we jumped on the league right away. But the Nationals started out really poorly. They were underachieving. They had a lot of older veterans that were dealing with injury. They had a lot of young guys that were sputtering, that when they stepped in, they just weren't quite ready. And what they did was they created kind of a team motto, and it was did you watch the Baby Shark stuff? I don't know how many of you are over that song, but I'm sure DC is loving every minute of it. But they just rallied around each other. Something about the way they played together really pushed them forward. And if you look on the other end, the Houston Astros were this powerhouse. They're this team that's built to win. They had Garrett Cole, the best pitcher in the league this year, Justin Verlander, who won the Cy Young, who was the best pitcher possibly of our generation, at least right-handed, Zach Greinke, who's one of the top pitchers, and then they had this powerful offense. And nobody could understand how the Nationals, who were dysfunctional to start the year, figured it out and was able to win, especially Game 7 in Houston. So apart from leadership and team chemistry, what I feel is true leadership comes from an individual. You can rely on your coaches, you can rely on your team leader, your best player to really push you. But to me, true leadership comes when you're looking in the mirror and you're able to evaluate yourself honestly, objectively, and you're able to see who you really are. I'm going to have a seat over here for a second. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay, cool. I remember in college, I walked on at the University of Dayton, and I didn't have a preferred schedule, so we'd have practice at 3 o'clock. I got done with with class at 2:45. And for most of you that know sports, if you have 3 o'clock practice, you're there by 2:30 to start your day. And so I showed up late every day. And I didn't understand that my coach, when I would start running down the hill from my freshman dorm, I'd sprint home from class, go to the dorm, change, and then sprint down to the field because it was right at the foot of the hill. And I knew immediately that everybody was starting, so I'd have that anxious feeling. And I'd start my day by just running laps because I was late. But I took it personally. I didn't understand that he was motivating me to be a part of the team. I talked about not being a morning person. In college baseball, you have to be a morning person. It's one of those things where you're doing 6 a.m. lifts, you're doing 7 a.m. swim, and then you have 8 a.m. classes, and then you start your day athletically. I was the guy that had to set 7 alarms. If I had to get up, if I had a 9 o'clock class, I knew I had to leave my dorm at 8:53, meaning I could brush my teeth and be out the door in 4 minutes. So I would set it up accordingly, and my best friend Andy, who's not here, went to Dayton with me. He knows freshman year how many times I hit the snooze on a daily basis. Jaron is another one, he's a multi-alarm guy, but that guy gets up and does it with me, whatever it takes. But college was one of those things where I didn't truly understand who I was as a player. I struggled in college because I came from Arcadia. Arcadia is about 15 minutes up the road from here. I graduated with less than 50 students in my class. From an athletic standpoint, I was really good at baseball. And at that point, I was an ignorant teenager, and I thought I knew everything there was to know about baseball. Because you're good at it, you're like, well, I got it down. And then I got to college, and this was a whole new experience, and I struggled right off the bat. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't throw strikes. I had a head coach that would try to motivate me it just didn't work for me. He would come to me and be like, if you walk this guy, you're out. Don't worry about it. We'll get somebody in here because we know you can't do it. And so in my head, I was like on the mound going, oh no, like, what do I do? And instead of thinking about throwing strikes and doing my job, I was like, all right, don't throw ball, don't throw ball, don't throw ball. And what I learned over the years was your brain doesn't understand positive and negative. Your brain only hears what you tell yourself. So if you're trying to avoid something, saying don't throw a ball, all your brain hears is throw a ball. Like, all right, I'm concentrated on a ball. And you do what you're talking about. And so I learned going into my junior year that whatever you want to do, think about that. If it's something positive, if you want to get up in the morning and go work out, you have to think go work out, not like, man, it's really early, I don't want to get up that early. You have to think in positive terms. So I started thinking of have fun, throw strikes, and let the baseball work itself out. Let your defense work behind you. Motivate yourself that way. Looking back on it now, I am about as in tune with myself as a baseball player as I can be at this moment. There's something called the arbitration process. Do you guys understand arbitration at all? So it's salary arbitration. After a certain amount of service time, you can negotiate your salary with your team for the first time. What happens is it's me, my agent, and our players union at a table, 3 arbitration judges, and then the team lawyer, our team general manager, and the baseball commissioner's office. So when you're sitting there, they're deciding your fate on what you're going to make. You have a value, the team has a value, and then these 3 arbitration judges decide it. Well, when you're facing the fact of these people, their entire job right now is to pay you as little as they can, it's a true punch in the gut sometimes. Not a lot of people can handle it, so not a lot of people go to that. But if you understand who you are as a pitcher, it makes it easier. I never thought I was Mariano Rivera. I never thought I was, Justin Verlander or Jacob deGrom. I never compared myself to the best because I knew who I am. I know where I fit. I know what I can provide and what I do best. And a day in, day out basis, you can maximize that. So So to me, true leadership, when you look yourself in the mirror, you know who you are. It's one of those things where you're like, all right, what do I do well? Okay, if it's in business, if you're able to work well in teams, well, use that as a motivation. If you don't work on a solo project very well, well, find somebody who does that and learn from them. The best part about being a pitcher is the group that's beside you. I'm in the bullpen every day for 7 months with 6 to 7 other guys that pitch, and we're constantly picking our brain. I think one thing that has allowed me to play in this game for as long as I have is my ability to share knowledge with other players and to pick up knowledge from guys. I talked about like data. There's no reason that I should still be pitching in today's game. I throw under 90 miles an hour when the average relief arm throws 94 plus. I have a good curveball, but as far as like a collection, like my spin rate is on the average side, but I'm able to use it. There's guys in today's game, if they have a rookie coming in, throws 97 to 99, his spin rate is unbelievable, so it has deception. His slider bites way harder than mine does, but he doesn't know how to pitch yet. That's the difference. You can't calculate that. This guy can throw, but he doesn't know exactly what it is that he needs to do. And so I'm able to slow the game down, break it down, take a step off and be like, okay, it's me versus Bryce Harper. There's runners on second and third in the 8th inning. We're up 2 runs. I have to get this guy out. I know the situation. So I am prepared. I know his tendencies. I know what he's trying to do. And I know what I do best. So I'm going to take advantage of what he's trying to do, and I'm going to do what I do best at the same time. And I get into a chess match with the hitters. I know, like, if Bryce moves up in the box, he's looking for a curveball. I'll look at his feet, and I'll pay attention. And then we played together in Washington in 2014, and I faced him probably 30 times in my career since then. And every time I can see it in his eye, he does not want to face me. He knows it. I know it. It's a left-on-left thing. He sees 95 plus all the time, and then I come and I throw a curveball at 72. It's just not familiar to him. And so I see him trying things, like he'll move his hands down. And if you have a good catcher, Tyler, I appreciate you coming and speaking, by the way. Pitchers and catchers have a special bond. It's one of those things. I'll appreciate you for whatever you do. You guys are amazing, but our catcher in Atlanta would watch his feet, and he's standing there, and he sees Bryce inch forward, and he hasn't given a sign yet. I know what I want to throw. He sees Bryce move up. He's like, all right, he's looking curveball. He goes, all right, fastball in. I throw 89. Like, even if I throw a perfect pitch at 89 miles an hour, that's a very dangerous pitch to throw. But if you understand the game and you trust what it is that you do and you trust what you know, you can get away with that. It's one of those things where you can elevate yourself by understanding your pluses and your minuses. You can take advantage of what you're good at. You can take what you're poor at or what you're not as good at, and you can make that better. But when it comes down to it, knowing who you are as a person, as an employer, as a ball player, knowing what you do best is how you're going to advance. Apart from self-evaluation, I think what leadership is all about is being able to elevate your teammates. There's a story I always tell. Gio Gonzalez is a pitcher. I played with him in Oakland and for 1 year in Washington. He's a left-handed pitcher, unbelievable talent. He was a high school draft pick, so he came in a little bit raw. He's different. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met, but he's quirky. He's left-handed, people say. You know, we're a little bit strange. We're a little bit weird. We think a little bit differently. In 2008, we played in the minor leagues together, and then that year I got called up, so I kind of lost that everyday feel for him. In 2009, we were both in AAA and the big leagues back and forth. And in AAA, Gio was one of the best pitchers you'll ever see. Spotting up his fastball, curveballs in the dirt, like just a beautiful thing. Gio, from a pitching standpoint, is what I do, except in his prime, he was way better than I do. He has all the same pitches that I do, but his stuff is just a touch better. But when he would have success in the big leagues or in the minor leagues and get called up, it wasn't translating, and nobody understood why he wasn't having success in the big leagues. And as somebody that knew him intimately, like I know his emotions. I can see something's off. And we talked about it. He got picked on by one of our veterans. It was like a rookie hazing thing. I'm not sure why he chose Gio. Gio's an easy target. Like, he's always smiling, he's always having fun, and so he's loud. When you're a rookie or a freshman, you're supposed to be quiet. Gio's never really understood that aspect, and he's better for it now, but then a lot of guys rubbed him the wrong way. And Gio and I sat down in the outfield in the big leagues the day before he pitched, and we were talking. We were shagging batting practice, and we were just chatting, and he was like, "Jerry, I don't understand. I don't know what's different." And I said, "Well, what is different? What is physically different?" And he says, "It's just not as fun for me." And I go, "Well, I'll give you an example, Gio, of what I think you should do. If you're a lefty and they give you a hard time for it, embrace it. Be who you are." Gio in the minor leagues would wear headphones while he's starting his warm-up throw. He's out there before the game starts, and he's listening to music, and he's throwing long toss and getting ready, and it gets him in his rhythm. You know, he's a Cuban American, so he's got that Latin flavor to him, and it helps him. And in the big leagues, he wore it his first start, and halfway through, that veteran came up to him and says, "Who do you think you are? Get those out of your ear. This is the big leagues. We don't do that here." And Gio was a good young guy, didn't know any better, was like, "Yeah, I'll take him out." And he struggled, and it was just a series of those things. And so I said, "Gio, just wear your headphones." I was like, "Guess what? You're gonna go out there. Guys are gonna give you a hard time, but ultimately, if you perform, next time it's gonna be a few less guys saying, 'What are you doing out there?' And if you go out there and you perform well again, even fewer guys. Eventually, they're gonna just be like, 'Well, that's Gio's thing. That's what he does. It's what he needs to do to succeed.'" And that's another thing that you can do as a leader. You can find out who your teammates are. You can find out who somebody in your office is that's struggling with something. You go find them and you motivate them every day. Just understanding yourself, understanding your teammates, showing up every day, trying to better everyone else's lives, like trying to make things easier. One second. Like, Gio comes up to me to this day. Gio and my mom are really close. So anytime, yeah, so my mom's always been like the sports house, so when we would come over, everybody would, come give my mom a hug. So Gio embraces my mom because he understands there's love there, and to this day, we'll talk to each other. He's got a couple of kids too. I talked to him last week, and he said, "Well, make sure you give your mom a big hug for me." So I'm sure you would appreciate that. Being a good teammate and being a good employee and being good every day, that's something that can push your career along. There's a guy, Barry Bonds is arguably the greatest hitter of all time. Whether or not, or how you feel about how he achieved that is up for debate. Yeah, it's, not everybody, there's that asterisk aspect. But if you look at the numbers, he's the greatest hitter of all time. But he's not known for being the greatest teammate. He was very standoffish. He sat by himself in the clubhouse. He had like 5 lockers in between him and the next guy. He was just very, personal and quiet. But he was okay. You can handle that. If you're going to be a bad teammate, a guy that isn't very good, well, you better be really, really good at your job. There's a reason why I've stuck around in this game. Like I said, numbers-wise, I know what I do, but I'm about an average pitcher when it comes down to the numbers. But what I do, I'm able to elevate some of my other teammates. This year, I started out in AAA with the Oakland A's. I was in Las Vegas. And then I got traded at the end of April to the Atlanta Braves. And so I went there, and I was just a fill-in. They had a couple of guys go on the DL. I pitched pretty well. But more than that, they had a lot of young guys that were struggling, and they kind of leaned on me a little bit to like pick my brain. Like, all right, what do you do to prepare? What are some of the things that you do? And I kind of equalized the bullpen a little bit. So they let me go about 3 weeks into being an Atlanta Brave. They sent me home when another guy came off the DL. And then 3 days later, I get a call, and they're like, we made a bad choice. Our bullpen misses you. Our guys need you. Can you come back? And I was like, absolutely. I love this team. I don't want to be unemployed either. So if you want to call and bring me up, I'm all for that. But it's better for you. It's better for your teammates if you're okay to be around. You don't have to be fun. You don't have to have a smile on your face every day, but you have to be approachable and hold yourself accountable. In 2015, I was with the New York Mets. I took a line drive off of my forearm. It ended up breaking a bone. I was 15 innings into the season. Didn't give up a hit or a walk, so I like to say I had a perfect season in 2015. But that year, I spent watching a World Series chase. The 2015 Mets made it to the World Series, and I watched it from spring training facility in Florida. It was one of the hardest things that I had to do on a day-in, day-out basis. I'm away from my wife, I'm away from my family, I'm away from my teammates, and I have to watch the games on TV. Not only that, I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida, which is basically remote during that time of year. There's nothing around. It's a dark place to get into, and I found myself, dipping in and out of bouts of depression. It's just hard to be around. So there were days I would go in for rehab, and I would just be in just a terrible mood. I was being rude to the PT guy, and I would go home, and I would just feel worse about it. And so the next day, I would show up like a dozen donuts. Hey guys, sorry I was a jerk yesterday. I'll do my best. And they're like, look, we understand what you're going through, but that us knowing that you are aware that sometimes not everybody's in the best mood or you're not in the best mood means a lot. And so just having that ability to understand where you are, who you are, and what you are at all points is huge. So my biggest advice for you is to really be able to look yourself in the mirror. If you think you are a great player and you think you are an amazing athlete, look at the numbers, look yourself in the mirror. Are you doing everything that you need to do to make yourself better? Are you truly giving it your all? One thing for me that set baseball apart, like at Arcadia, we were a small school. I got to play 3 sports. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I got to be in the band. I got to do basically whatever you want to do because there's a limited number of people that are filling spots. You can do it. I appreciate being able to play football. Football was awesome. There's nothing like running out of the tunnel or running through the tunnel on Friday, that intense feeling. We were terrible. We won 1 game my senior year, but every Friday you would be excited, that adrenaline rush. There's nothing like it. In basketball is different. It's a lot more of an intimate sport. You're close, the fans are closer, the court's small, there's a lot of one-on-one, you got to pull your weight. Conditioning is completely different than baseball. It's just different. But baseball was different for me, and I think I figured out why it was when I was in college. I love practicing baseball. And in order to be great at something, in order to elevate yourself at something, you have to enjoy practicing it. From taking ground balls to playing catch every day, there's nothing better than playing catch every day. I mean, it's something that I hope I get to do regularly for the rest of my life. There's just nothing to it, but it's fun. You get to work on pitches, you get to talk to your teammate, you get to evaluate him, he gets to evaluate you, and it's just fun. There's just nothing like it. I didn't enjoy practicing basketball as much as I did baseball. It's hard. I would be diving on the floor, getting scuffs everywhere, sliding around. Football practice was even worse. Football, I was quarterback by default. My frame does not scream football. So I would get hit by these guys, and it's painful, and half the time I'm picking myself up off the ground. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I here? You know, but when I got hit with the line drive, that never crossed my mind. What am I doing? What crossed my mind was, how do I get back to it? What do I need to do every day to make myself better? One of my favorite memories of baseball is my freshman year of high school. My brother is a senior. He's a star athlete at Arcadia. He's a varsity athlete. He knew that the only way I was going to be able to play varsity with him, because I was a little guy. I didn't grow until my sophomore year, and then even more so, but I was little. My brother was like, all right, the only way you're going to get to play with me this season is at first base. And so every day we would go outside, and he would work on scooping, throwing the ball, one-hopping, making sure if a throw came to me at first base that I was there. And I remember that to this day. It's one of my favorite memories of sports. It's one of my favorite things about baseball. I love doing it. There's nothing like it. First base, if I didn't have to, or if I could be something other than a pitcher, I would choose pitcher first, let's be honest. But if I could choose another position, I would be a first baseman. First base is the best. You're in every play because the ball has to come to you. You're at first base, so when one of their other players come to you, you get to chat with them. You know, you're at first base. I watched Freddie Freeman do it all year. You know, Miguel Cabrera comes over. He's like, hey, what's going on, man? What's up? I'm trying to pick his brain. You just get to interact with those guys. And then when your job is hard, it's not your fault. If the shortstop throws you a one-hop and you don't get it, it's his error. That's not on you. But if you do pick it, which you should, you're like, hey, man, I got you, man. I saved your life. The shortstop is like, thanks, man, great job. You're like, yeah, that's what I do. I save people. It's not a big deal. And on top of that, I don't think there's anything cooler in sports than hitting a home run. And first basemen, for the most part, are home run hitters. That's one thing that I haven't gotten to do, and it's one thing that I will never do, is hit a home run. I can't think of one thing that would be cooler than that, would be to hit a home run. Although I did get an at-bat and I got a hit. One of the highlights of my career, 2 years ago, I got to play in a game where a position player was pitching. We were up by like 20 runs, 18 runs, something like that. And a position player comes in. I was batting ninth when I came in, and we ran through the whole lineup. They make a pitching change when a guy was on deck to hit for me. And while they're changing, our manager, Mickey Callaway, was like, hey, do you want this at bat? I was like, hell yeah, I want this at bat. I was like, if it was Steven Strasburg up there, I might change my mind. I don't want to see 97 with movement. But you know, a position player up there pitching, that might change things a little bit. So I had no time to prepare. Throw on somebody else's batting gloves, throw on a helmet, you know, run up there with a bat. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And in my head, I'm like, this guy's going to throw so slow. It's going to be like slow pitch softball. That's hard to do. I haven't practiced that in a long time. And so the ball came lobbing in. And I was like, I have to hit this first one. Otherwise, I'm going to psych myself out. So I ended up, bases were loaded. I smacked a single into center. We got an RBI. I still smile to this day. I'll be brushing my teeth and be like, man, I got a hit in the big leagues. Yeah, I sent out a tweet saying, yeah, I can't believe my first hit was off of Clayton Kershaw. And all these people were like, what do you mean? That was Scott Kingery. He played shortstop. I was like, no. When I tell this story, I got a hit off Clayton Kershaw. Like, so you don't get to tell it. They call it fishtails. But again, we go back to the data. There's video proof of me hitting a position player. But you'll never be able to wipe that grin off my face. It's one of those moments where my teammates are all jumping up and down. We're trying not to celebrate too bad because we're winning by 22 runs. But I can't. I'm just like, hey, give me that ball. Hey, can you throw that ball in? That's for the trophy case. And then I'm standing on first base, and so I get a lead. I'm like, I haven't slid since 2001. What am I going to do? I look around. I'm like, that's really far away. I'm going to make sure I can get back like this. Our first base coach is looking at me like, what are you worrying about? He's not going to pick over. He's like, they're down 22 runs. If he throws that away, he's like, he'll never be on this team again. And so I'm like, all right, do I do this? What do I do? And I was like, I hope he doesn't hit it at me. This is going to hurt. You know, I'm 60 feet away when I'm pitching, but it feels secure. I know that. That's my domain. I'm, 95 feet away, with a lead leaning back, and I feel like he could hit me with a bat. I'm like, oh my God, this is scary. He puts it in play. I start running. I'm like, don't make me slide. Don't make me slide. The guy gets the ball and steps on first, and I'm out by steps on second. I'm out by like 30 feet, and he's like, hey, nice hit, kid. And I was like, kid? 35 years old, 36 now. I was like 35 years old. He goes, well, you're smiling like a kid. I was like, that's a good point. So baseball just brings joy for me. There's just something about it. It's different. There's nothing like this body that screams professional athlete. I'm 6'6". I weigh 185 pounds. I've weighed 185 pounds since my junior year of college. I've been the exact same in the off season, all in college, every year for a long time. All my strength and conditioning coaches are like, hey, take all this protein, eat this, do this weight training, and you'll start to put on weight. When you turn 25, when you turn 30, when you turn 35, you'll finally do it. This is just how I am. Like, my body is built like this, and I'm cool with that. Like I'm comfortable. I play baseball. I don't need bulk to push a lineman around. I don't need blazing speed and be able to elbow underneath. I pitch. It's different. I've always had a knack for the fluidity of baseball. Have you ever seen a professional athlete from a different sport throw out the first pitch? What do you think? How'd it go? It can be ugly, man. Some of the greatest athletes in the world, basketball players. I remember in DC, John Wall came. He plays, or I don't think, is he still with the Cat, or is he still with Washington? Okay, so he throws out the first pitch, and I'm thinking, this guy, he's practicing in the cage. I'm like, you might want to reconsider, bud. This is going to be a little embarrassing for you. He's like, I don't care. I love baseball. I was like, man, I'm proud of you for that. He goes in and he throws it at 2 hops there, but he did it. Later on that year, Robert Griffin III was the quarterback in Washington for the Redskins, and he comes, and he's going to throw out the first pitch, and he's hanging out with us. He's hitting BP. It's not pretty either. Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports, so not a lot of guys can do that. But he's throwing in the cage, and he's throwing in the outfield, and he can't throw a baseball. I'm like, this guy throws a football 70 yards with ease. He can't throw a baseball. And about halfway through what was supposed to be a 10-minute throwing session, about 5 minutes in, he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm not doing this. He goes, I'll wave to everybody. I'm going to enjoy the game, but I am not throwing out the first pitch. There's just something about baseball that's different. I actually played with Bartolo Colon in New York and in Oakland. But when we were in Oakland in 2012, it was Grant Balfour was here, my locker, and then Bartolo Colon. Grant Balfour is what you would see a fitness model. The guy's chiseled, like he was built like he looks like a Greek god. Like, it's just silly. So ESPN, the magazine, was there talking to him about maybe posing for their body issue, where they pose naked and something doing with their sports to show off their physique. And I'm sitting beside him, and they're talking to him. I'm like, hey, I have an idea. And they look at me, they're like, this isn't for you. I was like, hear me out. I go, how long you guys been doing this? And they were like, 3 years. I was like, come back on your 10th anniversary. I have your cover. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, me and Bartolo. I am the 1. Bartolo is the 0. We're the 10th anniversary. And they're like, that's not a bad idea. I was like, by then I'll probably be out of the game, but Bartolo will probably still be pitching at 45. But it just goes to show you that baseball's different. I am built like me. Bartolo is rotund, if you will. And we do the same thing. You don't see that in other sports. You don't see a guy that looks like he's out of shape be able to, swing a bat. It's just a different type of athleticism. And I think that's why I appreciated it so much. I was able to take my love for baseball and turn it into a career, and I'll forever be grateful for that. But I know how hard I worked. I know how dedicated I was. I know the sacrifices that I made. It started in high school. It really became fruitful in college when it became, being a student athlete is super difficult. I struggled with my studies for the first time in my life due to baseball. I didn't understand time management. I didn't know how to do both, and it was a work in progress. But after I had a little bit of failure, I was able to say, all right, something needs to change. And that's because of baseball. Baseball showed me that you don't just keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. You have to make changes. You have to understand what it is that's going on, and you have to be able to change it. And that's why I wanted to speak on leadership. It's something that all these people that are collecting data, trying to evaluate you, trying to put a number on you, trying to say you're this, you're that, you're this. There's some things, there's intangibles that they can't put a number on, and that leadership starts with you. I'm going to open it up for questions. I expect my brother to have at least one. And maybe, okay, we have 2 microphones. I'm not sure how you want to do it. You want me to call on someone?
Nope, they'll just line up.
Okay, great. So you can line up. Don't all get up at once, but I do need some questions.
Jerry, question for you. Baseball, there's a lot of superstition. What type of superstition practices do you have, and maybe what are some of the quirkiest you've seen in the league?
We don't call them superstitions. We call them routines. I have a routine. Yeah, they're superstitions. Let's not kid ourselves. I will shower in the exact same shower every time until if I have a poor outing. So we have, 25 guys plus September. And so our communal shower is like 30 shower heads. Well, if there's one guy in my shower, I will wait until he's done. Or if he has less service time with me, I'll tell him to move. But for the most part, I'll just wait. I just feel comfortable because if I go out that next day and I don't have success, I'll feel like, why didn't I just shower? Why didn't I just choose my shower? From that to, I think one of the weirder ones is, I won't name names because I don't want to do that to someone, but my locker mate one year was a position player. And if he got a hit that day, he didn't wash his jock strap, his cup. He was really good at baseball, and so he hit a lot. And he had a hitting streak that was pretty extensive, one of the longest I've ever been around, and I couldn't change beside him. I had to time those showers up conveniently in my own shower to just make do. So I won't point them out, but we've got some weird ones. That's definitely the grossest I've been around. So thank you.
Do you think the Astros were tipping their changeup?
Say that again?
Do you think the Astros were tipping their changeup?
I couldn't hear it. Wait.
Do you think the Astros were tipping their changeup?
Do you think the Astros were tipping changeups? That's a deep question. Thank you. So yes and yes. Steven Strasburg had a tell. Every team in the league had it. He would do something with his glove when he was coming set that would say, all right, this is a changeup. And his stuff is so good, sometimes it didn't even matter. Johan Santana won a Cy Young. His entire career, everyone knew when he was going to throw his changeup, and it still didn't matter. That was his bread and butter. Some guys just have good stuff. The Astros are really good at picking. There's certain guys and certain teams that are really good at picking tells. When I got traded from Washington to the Mets, the first thing our hitting coach did was he came up to me and he goes, I know every pitch you're going to throw. I'm like, what? And I'll show you. So this is my glove. I'll use this as an example. I used to come set here. Well, if I was throwing a fastball, it would be here. If I was throwing a curveball, it would be here. And if it was a changeup, it'd be here. I mean, it's subtle, and you think in a full speed of something that it's happening that you couldn't tell or you wouldn't be that secure. But I said, I don't believe you. And he goes, all right, throw a bullpen. And as I was throwing the first 6 pitches, he yelled out as I was letting it go. I was like, all right, you win. I will make an adjustment. So now I'm down here, which is something you have to watch for too, because if you fan your glove, which is what Strasburg did. So on his changeup, he would come up and he would like wiggle a little bit. And you can see a subtle change, and the Astros picked that up. To get deeper, I don't know if you guys are following, but there's a big scandal going on right now with the Astros stealing signs. So they had, allegedly, they had a guy in their dugout that was watching the live feed of the game. So they have a center field camera, and you can see the catcher calling somebody out. So in baseball, if you steal signs, if you pick up a tell, if I'm telling you, tipping my pitches, that's on me. You should look for stuff like that. If you're on second base and you're able to tell the signs, that's why we have multiple signs. That's why we do taps. If you pick that up, good for you. We deserve it. But if you're cheating, the Astros were allegedly, they had somebody right outside, like right inside their dugout, watching a monitor, and they had a trash can beside him and a baseball bat. He would see fastball, it would be 1. So as the pitch is throwing, or as he sees the catcher do this, boom, 1 loud bang on the trash can, fastball. And then you see, all right, it's a slider or a breaking ball, 1, 2. So you can hear it on the video. Like, there's pretty significant evidence. And I think their biggest accusation was when they won the World Series in 2017, that they did this. I hope Rob Manfred, our commissioner, really puts the hammer down, because to me, cheating like that is just as bad, if not worse, than taking steroids. Taking steroids, you still have to hit the baseball. You still have to throw strikes. You know, there's still some chance. If like I said, I throw 88, 89 miles an hour. In today's game, that's very slow. And I need to surprise people with it. I slow them down with the curveball. I put the ball in the spot that I want to. I'm able to spot up. But if I'm trying to sneak a fastball by you on the inside, and you're cheating and you know what's coming, that's a hard hit baseball. I don't care which way you shake it. If you say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I don't care what excuses they have. If that was happening, I hope they get an absolute hammer put down on them, because it's a disgusting part of the game. And I hope it gets eliminated. I hope he makes an example of them. And thank you for the question.
So baseball is a very international sport. How do you embrace the international cultures in dugout?
How do you raise the international culture?
How do you embrace the international cultures in dugout, the different international cultures? How do you embrace it?
Oh, I mean, baseball is really awesome from an international standpoint. Like a third of our league is from Latin America. So our teammates are from Venezuela, the Dominican. We had a guy named Ozzy Albies this year from Curacao. They're from Cuba. We have Japanese players, Taiwanese players. When I was coming up with the Cubs, we had the first Italian-born pitcher to make it to the professional levels. It's a beautiful game. I've gotten to travel to Japan 3 times to play baseball. And I just love watching baseball there and playing there, because they embrace it on a different level. Everything's so disciplined. They never boo. So I played in New York for 4 years. I've heard plenty of boos. I love my time there. My wife and I were just, our anniversary was last night, so we went out and we were talking about how lucky we felt to be able to stay in New York for 4 years, because there really is nothing like it. But if you do poorly, they will boo you, and that's okay. I understand. It's not something personally that I would do, but you feel like that's what you want to do. You paid a ticket. I have a job to do. If you didn't like it, you can boo me. Like, if that makes you feel better, have at it. But in Japan, they don't boo anyone. So if you're the home team, they have every hitter, they have a song. They have a band out there, and they have a song for every hitter, and it's amazing. When we would come in, we were the visiting player, our shortstop would make a nice diving play, and he'd throw him out at first. They cheered so loud. They appreciated the game of baseball. It was such a positive environment, so fun to be around. One year I got to play in Colombia in 2006, part of winter ball. I lived there for 3 months, and it gave me a new appreciation for baseball. They have just a different feel for it there, too. There's cheerleaders on the dugouts. It's a family environment. It's rambunctious. There's pitching changes like that. Like, guys come in, face one hitter, maybe not even that. If the manager didn't like the first 2 pitches you threw to that guy and it's a 1-1 count, he didn't like it, you're out. Like, it was crazy. It was just different, but you appreciate that. They love the sport, and it's the sport that I love, and they just love it in a different way, and I'll forever admire baseball's international culture for that. On top of Japan and winter ball, they played this year in Puerto Rico, they played in Cuba, they did play in London. They're just trying to expand the game internationally. I think it's a great thing. You see what the NFL's done with Europe. Baseball's trying to expand as well. There's just so many people out there that baseball's a different game. It's hard to pick up. It's hard to watch. You ever try to sit beside somebody at a game and explain to them that's the first time they've watched a baseball game and try to explain? It's not that easy. It takes a little bit to learn, and so once you get it, you usually fall in love with it. So, is there any other questions? I appreciate it. All the baseball guys are stepping up.
I'm a left-handed pitcher, but I was wondering who's the hardest hitter you've ever faced and why?
Fellow lefty, I appreciate you. Okay. For a long time, my answer was always Ichiro. Ichiro Suzuki, he's instant Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of the generation that I came. I couldn't get that guy out. Like I said, I have a chess match with the opposing hitter. I try to outthink him. Between each pitch, I take my time and I evaluate what I'm trying to do. I'm not just trying to throw 98 by a guy. And Ichiro, even when I would have success against him, he was so fast that I'd get him to roll over to second base, which is a nice, easy ground ball. I'd get him, and it's a short throw, he'd still beat it out, because he did it on purpose. Like if I threw the ball in, he would roll it over knowing that he's fast, and he'd beat the ball. If he knew a curveball was coming, I'd throw a curveball, and I'm like, well, he knows it's coming. It's hard to guess a pitch and get it and not swing at it. So I'd throw it in the dirt. Well, we opened a series in 2012 in Japan. I was facing him with runners in scoring position. I got up on him 1-1. I threw him a curveball in the dirt because he was looking for it. I'm like, yeah, he swung. Well, it bounced, and he hit it for a double in the gap. The guy just has unbelievable eye-hand coordination. A little side story is his last year in Miami, I don't do a lot of memorabilia stuff. I don't ask for a ton of autographs. If I do, a lot of the time it's for my nephew or my brother or somebody. But I told Ichiro, he has a translator, but he speaks perfect English. It's hilarious. He's got the idioms down, like the slang, he speaks perfect English. But so I go up to him in batting practice. He's with the Marlins, I'm with the Mets. And I'm like, hey man, if I sent you over an Ichiro Seattle jersey, you think you could sign it for me? He's like, yeah, no problem, man. Just send it over, I'll sign it for you. He's like, don't throw a fastball at my hands today. He's like, I took batting practice early and my hands hurt. So if you face me, I'm giving you an autograph. I want a fastball down and away. I was like, maybe. You're good enough as is, so I'm not going to promise you anything. So I wrote him a note, and it's something that I do for guys that I truly admire. And I wrote him a note saying, it's been such an honor to play at the same time as you. I can't wait to tell my kids and my grandkids that I faced you. At the time, he was the guy I'd faced most in my career. When he was in Seattle and I was in Oakland, we were in the same division, so I faced him a ton. And then when I went to New York, he went to Miami. I faced him all the time there too. So at that time, he was the guy I faced by far the most. And I've had success, and he's had a lot of success. But I said, thank you for being a great guy. Thank you for being a good ambassador to the sport. I can't wait to tell my kids that I played in the same era as you. And I sent it off with the jersey. He signed it and sent it back. And then the next day, I get a note from him and a bat. And the note says, thank you. Those are the kinds of things that I collect. He goes, that meant the world to me. And he gave me one of his bats that he doesn't give out. His bats are Japanese maple. They're from a certain tree, a certain age, a certain weight. He's meticulous about it. He keeps them in a humidor. And so he signed his name and wrote me a nice note, and that's something that I'll always cherish. Then I had to face Freddie Freeman a lot when I was in New York. So it was Ichiro And Freddie is like just a notch underneath. He's another one of those guys where I can't evaluate their swing. The hitters that I face that are trying to hit home runs, that's when I'm at my best. If you're trying to just hit a home run, I'm going to take advantage of you 99% of the times, because as long as I execute what I'm trying to do, I know that you're not going to deviate from your plan, and I'm going to chew you up. Freddie has such a strange swing that I can't evaluate it. There's been so many times where I'm like between pitches, like, was he out in front of that? Like, what happened? He hit it foul this way, but it looked like he was late. I have no idea. And I'll step off and be like, get this out of your head. The catcher's looking at me going, what are you doing? He's like, this? I'm like, I don't know. And so I had a hard time, and Freddie's an unbelievable hitter. He's the only left-handed hitter that I threw a really good curveball to, and he hit a home run off of it. And it still ruins my day every time I think about it. So Ichiro and then Freddie. Yeah.
What does life look like for you after baseball?
After baseball, that's a great question. I pondered retirement going into last season. I'm married, we had our first child, and I'm 36 now. At the time I was 35, I'm like, there's a reason why we waited. I'm away from my family for basically 9 months straight. Like, it was really hard for me to want to have a child and not be there. And I remember that feeling of when we had Ellis, our oldest. He was 10 days old, and I got 3 days of maternity leave, or paternity. I got to be at home for 3 days, including birth and then the first 2 days of his life. Luckily, we had a homestand, so I was there for a lot of it, but I still had to go to work. He was 10 days old, and we were leaving on a 10-day road trip. And it hit me. I was like, I'm going to miss half of this kid's life. I'm going to be gone for half of it. And when I got back, he was like a different boy. And that was hard for me to comprehend. But I've got a good family. My wife is very supportive. She's like, keep doing it. And so I don't know exactly what it is. I really enjoy talking, motivational speaking. I like TV and radio. I think I have a chance to work with the union. But I'm not sure that my options are open. It's something that I'm keeping my ears and eyes open for. But I'm trying to, continue the playing career. But thank you. I think that's my time. Thank you guys very much.
Jerry, thank you so very, very much. Here are some Oiler treats.
Thank you. That's so
yes,
sweet.
Yeah. So everyone, thanks so much for coming today. I know we have a number of high school students here, and so we have some Arlington, and I think some Arcadia, and some Findlay students here. And I think for all of us, some great leadership lessons. And I do want to say for our high school students, we love having you on campus and hope that the next time you come, you'll plan to stay for 4 or 5 years. So I also want to say a big thank you to First Federal Bank for being our sponsor of this series, which our overarching theme is one of leadership, and leadership comes in any field. And so don't forget about coming next month, December 6th, to hear Sue Young talk about what she has learned. And she absolutely gives credit for her classes here in psychology and biology for helping her to get into the minds of animals with the training. So we'll see you at that time. Couple other things that I want to mention. Again, Giving Tuesday on December 3rd, and the program today in the bottom right-hand corner has the give.findlay.edu website, so take that home so it can prompt you and remind you. Also on your table are comment cards. We'd very much appreciate your comments regarding today's program and any suggestions you may have for future programs. We'll be doing 3 in the spring semester. We always do 6 a year, so you can fill out your comment cards and give those at the tables as you leave, or leave them on the tables and we'll pick them up afterward. And Want to, of course, wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and let you know how grateful we are to you. And Erin Thompson in the back. Please join me in thanking Erin for all of her detail work on today. Take the information about Winter College, and then I would just ask one more round of applause for Jerry. So terrific, and we're going to let you get home because he has a brand new infant at home, and I'm sure your wife will appreciate you getting back and helping. So thanks so much for coming, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. See you next month.